Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Bonnie. This is episode 102, and we're diving into the quantum realm to get nerdy about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. Confidently Wrong. We got Savon back in the house. What's up, Savon?
Howdy, I'm back.
Brian.
You back. What's up, man? How's Mardi Gras?
Oh, it was nice, man. I think I had a very successful Mardi Gras. I got to where I needed to go, did a lot of fun events, caught up with lots of friends and people from all just different chapters of my life.
That is the most anodyne description of Mardi Gras.
Time.
I'm saying,
come on, man. How many floats did you get on? How many beads did you attain by flashing your goodies? These are the stories we want to know.
No flashing, an assortment of beads. At this stage in my life, I'm not trying to catch a bunch of beads, but I want to be near people and basically use my go-go gadget arms to make some wide receiver football catches. And so if I have long arms,
Megatron.
So my goal in Mardi Gras is, someone threw a nice bead, cool, or a little football off the float. If I can make a highlight catch and just kind of have my little moment, people look around, oh, good catch. I'm like, it's a win in my book. It's a win in my book. Those are the victories. Got to catch up with the homeboys, Tyler and Kendall. We haven't all been in a group together in over 2 years, which is wild.
It's the Fanu group.
Yeah, Fanu. So it's that was dope. I mean,
Fanu? What is Fanu?
No. Don't.
Do we need to get into this?
No,
is Mike in that group?
No, no shade to Mike. No, Fanu is just what my group. That's just been our game tag and group tag and all our various games since high school, middle school. So we've just branded that for any groups we're in.
This is the GTA boys, the Apex boys.
Yeah, and then whatever we've been playing over the years. So back in middle school or back in. Yeah, middle school was the MMO for our MMOs for back when you played the first Modern Warfare. It's just whatever game we play. Hey, we all hopping on this. Cool. Do they have a club or a group feature? Yeah, I'm all right, Fanu, let's get it going.
Fanu's on it.
Yeah, man, it's great. But got to catch up with them. The parades were dope. Got to see Mike. I hung out with Mike for a nice little bit actually.
Battlefield Mike.
He lives.
Yeah. Caught up with Mike. It was just a lot of just best of people I've known in life. Hey, let's catch up. How are we doing?
And the food. Did you get food?
Oh, come on, man. I was eating the crawfish. I was eating the gumbo. I was just going to all my favorite restaurants. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, I had this nice brunch spot yesterday right before I left with my family. I got the catfish and grits. Oh my Lord. I 100% gained weight, but I think it was offset by all of the walking and dancing I was also doing out at the parade. So
that's the best.
I think I broke even.
Carnival done right.
Yeah, it was. I like to describe it as I don't have necessarily the raw energy I had when I was 19 or 20 tackling Mardi Gras when I was young in college. I feel like I've kind of aged into my late game LeBron where I don't have the raw power to just. I don't have to just run through the entire city like I did before with just energy. But I'm smooth. I'm efficient. I'm getting to my spots. I'm still putting up great efficiency and going to all the events, but I'm being smart about it. I had me a pre energy ball gala, meal. Had a bowl of gumbo going in.
2010 Kobe, not 2002 Kobe.
Yeah, I feel like my Mardi Gras game has aged like fine wine, and I felt every day I woke up, I'm tired, but not because of a hangover or something. It's just because I've been up just dancing and doing stuff, but that's the tired I want to have. We're ready to go back into it. Yeah, let's get us a bagel and some coffee, and we're gonna get it going. So it was. And I got to spend time with family, too. So it really was a balanced trip. It was the vacation I very much needed.
Nice. Did you hang out with the
dog?
dog?
In the cold.
Yeah. Did you hang out with the dog? With Nala?
Oh, yeah. Come on, man. We was all up on the couch just chilling. It was me and her chilling on the back deck. It was great.
We were hoping that you would log into the Instagram and start posting the the behind the scenes of the Savon Mardi Gras experience, but that never materialized.
I think behind the scenes is just him with a
scenes.
PlayStation controller.
No, I was out and about a lot. The problem is that when you're at those parades, there's such a raw volume of people, your phone just gonna lose service a lot of the time. So it's just not really an opportunity to be like you can do all that, but I'm not. I'm like, oh, I can't post it. Plus, I'm already out here doing my thing. Plus,
the phone will save your picture, and you could do that later when you return. Back to the house, right?
But I'm already having fun just doing my thing in the moment. I'm not about to. That's too many extra hoops. I'm already having a good time. Sorry, I was too busy living in the moment.
Yeah.
The only moment that I really wish you captured was when you and Battlefield Mike reunited.
Oh, I actually have a picture of me and Mike.
I haven't met either of you guys in real life, but I know you're extra tall. He's extra small, and so I just imagine Big Dog meeting Little Dog, and Big Dog like picking up said Little Dog.
Well, not picking up, but it's actually funny because I found Mike the way I think I've. So it was. I don't know if he ever told you a previous Mardi Gras story where his now fiance had a wig and I didn't recognize her. She had the same wig on and came up to me.
Still didn't recognize her?
I did not. And because Mike was at the bathroom, and so Mike came back and I was talking to him and his friend Curry. So I saw other faces. I saw other familiar faces of people I know Mike is friends with. I did not recognize his fiance who had the same wig I didn't recognize the first time. She came up to me first. I was like, I think she could see the gears turning of me clearly, like for a split second, trying to figure out, hey, who is this? And then she knew before I could play it off. No, it was dope. I took some good pictures.
Hey, wigs, colored wigs, and like makeup, and then like a weird outfit and a hat. That'll just mess you up, man. Like, there's no way to recognize
context
people.
change.
Yeah. I was
all recognition.
Cool. I'm glad y'all can take some responsibility off me. But it was overall it was a really good time, and I was glad to visit home and catch up and all that. But also, I'm glad to be back in Detroit too. So I'm glad that I have that feeling.
Well, this episode, we're going to mainly talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which just dropped last weekend. We waited a week to talk about it because Savon was obviously on his vacation, and we wanted to make sure that Savon was here. But real quick, I wanted to touch on The Last of Us. So it's still ongoing, HBO Max. We haven't forgot about the show. All of us, I think, are pretty much into it. We've been, keeping up to date. So, gentlemen, the question remains, are you still enjoying the show, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this adaptation of The Last of Us just continues to present us with new and amazing, incredible moments, right? Just like the kind of moments that everybody's going to be talking about the day after. Yes. Even my mom is watching this, and she like texts me after the episode. It's like, is so-and-so gonna die? did that happen in the game? And I'm like, we're gonna find out, Mom. We're gonna find out.
Dr. Redondo is in it. She's on the YouTubes watching the recap videos.
Yeah, she's trying to like read spoilers. She's like Last of Us wiki. Like she's in. Yeah, she is in. So I think the show is doing the game huge justice. I mean, before I don't even know. I don't think we even talked about it on the podcast. But the show has given us Bill and Frank. What an incredible relationship unfold. The game never gave us that.
I think that episode, because it got such good word of mouth, also helped kind of ramp the audience up for that show. It sounds like that they had a big pickup after episode 3.
And it was a great on-ramp for people, right? Because that show works as a standalone. And then 2 episodes later, you get Henry and Sam. Are those the right names? Henry and Sam?
Henry and Sam.
That's another just like phenomenal relationship to see unfold on screen. And then of course you get the awful payoff at the end, which just like heightens everything going on with Joel and Ellie. But the show as a whole, just feeling like there is just this power going on behind it, this emotional power going on behind it. But so I've been really enjoying it. My one quibble though that I'm starting to ask is the show actually moving too quickly? Is it jumping from set piece to set piece way too fast in trying to condense the entire first game in one season of television. So that's an ongoing thing that I have running in the back of my head on this one.
Sav?
I think I want to respond to that, but let me just my thoughts. But thoughts on the show. I mean, loving it. It's a great adaptation. Everything. They've certain parts that they've left almost one for one the same. And I've watched some of the videos where it even plays them next to each other, so you can see, and it's amazing. But then every time they diverge and do something different, I'm always just happy with what they did. You know, the way we're already peppering in little elements of the second game into, I don't think that's a spoiler, but like they're peppering in elements of the second game into some of what we see in the first game. And it's just, they're already preemptively building out that connective tissue to these stories that like, hey, the stuff that you're seeing and what's happening here is actually going to be relevant in the long term, especially if you're someone who's played the game. You already know the significance of this stuff. And it's something that for the new folks, it's still just dope TV. And for people who play the game, it's like, hey, no, we're playing the long game on some of this, because the existence of that place, what was it, Jackson? That alone is just like, there's a lot of implications to that place even existing. So I'm loving it. I think the best thing I'm loving is that, and this is why I think the word of mouth with the Bill and Frank episode works so well, is it comes off as a show about these zombies and monsters, but they really don't appear in that many episodes, or they do. And sometimes it's really significant, but a lot of other times they're not the conflict, or they're not the issue here. And it may let you know, hey, this is not The Walking Dead. And even Walking Dead was very people oriented, but the zombies were a lot more present the way they are compared to how it works in Last of Us. So I'm really happy with it. I've been happy with every change they've done so far, and so I'm excited for the ride. Though, Brian, I don't think that they're going too fast, because one thing I realized from my watching of the playthrough and how the game has been, how the show has been, a lot of the gameplay really is like Joel just going around killing stuff. And that's not a bad thing, because you need a video game to play. But when you trim, that's a lot of what pads the game out. So when you trim that fat, the show is actually hitting all of the main story beats at a pretty good pace and still adding along in a meaningful way. Like even like the episode with Sam and Henry, in the game, it's a lot more action and it's less people conflict, but like it more or less is like, it's not like it was significantly longer. It was just, there was more fighting, and instead of fighting, they filled it out with characters talking and like, some of the other stuff with the group. So I've actually been really happy with that, because, and I know the writers and directors were intentional of just, we want the violence to feel impactful when it happens, because in a video game, you need gameplay. So you're going to be doing lots of just killing. And it's like, hey, we can tone it back, give it more people stuff. And when we do kill, it really hits home, which has been true. So I don't know. That's my thought on that, because it's a valid critique that you have, or a valid thought.
Brian, do you want to respond?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I agree with you. It is pretty one-to-one in terms of, moving from set piece to set piece. Scrapping out the gameplay and whatever, taking out all the shooting and stuff that Joel has to do in the game. But like, even though that is happening, right, like one episode here, another episode in another place, a couple episodes in Kansas City, even though the gameplay is missing, it's still, I don't know, I think it still feels like there could be greater room to let things simmer. Part of what you do get in gameplay is just time with Joel and Ellie together, and I think some of the way that the show has been written, is very much about amplifying the other characters, and I think that is a correct thing to do. It does make the show that much better, but it made me feel like there's additional room left, or needed for the core characters to also develop even more, to not just be sort of like the characters that introduce you to the main focus, who might be Sam and Henry in one episode, might be Bill and Frank another episode. And so they're constantly moving all over America, city to city and whatever. But like, could this one season have been stretched into two and felt better? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that'd be too long. But maybe they just need more episodes for one season. I don't know. So
no, actually, that's
something.
fair. Actually,
yeah, something to like keep track of. Like, I don't. one, I don't think that ruins the show whatsoever. It's still phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. But I'm left still like craving a little bit more. You
have Joel Ellie blue balls.
No, I get what you mean though. Like the 3 month, there's like a 3 month gap, and it's like, ooh, that's a lot of off-screen relationship development. That hey, maybe we can get a peek into that. No, I agree. That's fair. Maybe an extra episode or maybe an extra 10 minutes of just the equivalent of what would be a deleted scene might just help pad that out more. That's fair. I agree.
I haven't felt that way at all. I've really liked the pacing of it, but I also like to binge things, so makes sense. All right. We'll revisit this. I think we'll have a chance maybe after episode 8 or 9 to come back to this and kind of review The Last of Us as a whole. So we'll get more in depth and we'll have the benefit of seeing how the series really ends or how the season ends. I know they're going to do a season 2. There's been rumors that maybe there will also be a season 3, which will allow them to sort of tackle the second game as well, which is very rich, the second game. So let's get into our main topic, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, a whole mouthful of a movie. We've had a few days. Well, we've actually had more than a week at this point to digest the latest entry into the MCU. We're excited to talk about this movie starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, newcomer Catherine Newton, who got swapped in for the daughter Cassie, Michael Douglas, and Michelle Pfeiffer return. I just realized that they're the masculine and feminine of the same name. And
very, very good, Wes. And actually, Douglas is the masculine version of Pfeiffer.
I never knew that. Also returning in glorious understated rage, Jonathan Majors as Kang. Not to be confused with Krang.
Though there was a Krang-like character.
There was. MODOK makes an appearance here. Another head inside of a container of sorts. So interesting, random thing that my brain connected here. So anyways, no spoilers yet here. Savon, can you kind of set the MCU board for us? So where are we? When are we? Because that's kind of important here. And then how does the beginning of Quantumania kind of fit into this broader MCU context?
Yeah, so we're in the MCU at this point. We're in the post-Endgame world. We've dealt with Thanos, all that's out the picture. Now a lot of it is everybody just picking up the pieces. What is life after this? We've seen what the Wakandans have been up to. We've seen what Spider-Man's been up to. The Eternals have been doing their own thing. Doctor Strange is having his existential stuff. Thor is out in deep space. We have our Disney Plus shows following up with people, their own aftermath, whether it's Hawkeye, Black Widow, new characters like Moon Knight. We have a lot happening, right? There's not a lot of parts connecting all of this yet. But as we've seen from Loki...
Did you mention Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi, Ms.
He's
Marvel.
Out there somewhere.
Yeah, Shang-Chi, Ms. Marvel. There's a lot of board pieces on the Marvels are coming out. There's a lot of pieces on the table right now. And we've only gotten to see some small bits connecting them. But what we still do know is that the biggest conflict is ultimately going to be Kang the Conqueror. We've gotten to see a little bit of him in Loki. We got to see the beginning of what that saga is. We know the multiverse is going to be very significant in the next big Marvel conflict, as we saw in Doctor Strange a little bit. It's in Loki, and we'll see more Loki later. So, yeah, Ant-Man Quantumania is a chance to really get face-to-face with one of the versions of Kang that we'll be seeing and like what he brings to the table. So really introducing like the next big threat, bigger than Thanos, an actual multiversal threat.
Yeah, so he's going to take the place, or he is kind of taking the place of Thanos in this kind of run, this stretch of maybe 4, 5, 6 years or whatever that MCU is doing. And it kind of struck me that there's parallels, right? Like in phase 1, we got introduced to Iron Man and Thor. Did we get Captain America in phase 1?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but those were all very
Avenger.
Disconnected stories. They're just kind of introducing us to new characters or kind of setting up what their powers are, things like that. And so we're sort of getting that again here in phase 4. But now we're into phase 5, which is where hopefully, I'm hoping, we're going to start connecting all of these seemingly random stories together in some way, and starting to head towards a collision course towards Kang. Which I want to... Did you have something, Brian?
No.
So I want to me, that takes us into one of the hugest strengths of this movie. Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror here. What did you think of his performance, first of all, because I think there's only one right answer here. And then what did you think of Kang the Conqueror as a character? Brian, I want you to start us off.
Well, so what's really interesting about Kang in this version, this iteration of Kang, is how different he was from the first one we saw in Loki. You know, in He Who Remains, or whatever he was called in Loki, right? He's the guy behind the Time Variant Authority, behind the TVA. And when Loki and Sylvie arrive there, expecting, some huge threat, instead they're met with some guy who's just like really amused by them, who he's a little bit giddy. He's obviously he's clearly powerful, right? Like he's kind of impossible to attack in that situation. So but he's lively, he's funny, he's just really quirky. But then when we find Kang in the quantum realm, what we see is something very different. We see a guy who is simmering with rage, right? He's seething with something behind his eyes, like he's almost on the verge of tears with anger whenever he's talking to Michelle Pfeiffer's character, or he's talking to Scott Lang, and so you get the sense that there is a lot of doom and danger here. The TVA version, it was sort of befuddlement, I think, from Loki and company when they're confronted with him. But here, Ant-Man and company, they recognize that this guy is a threat, and part of it is that the movie is building around all the residents of the quantum realm whispering about this guy and how dangerous he is and what he's done, and also the fact that Michelle Pfeiffer left all of them to deal with his chaos. And so here we get Jonathan Majors in this different version of Kang, and not only is he angry, he also has a full range of ridiculously powerful technology. And we're like, oh my god, this guy has like telekinetic powers, he's got laser powers, he's got force field powers. He seems pretty much like an unstoppable force throughout most of the movie, most of the battle. And then you're worrying that he's gonna find his way outside of the quantum realm, which would be a huge conundrum for the entire MCU, or this version of Earth, the one that we're in. And so I think it's really his movie for the most part, right? Like Kang as the driving force, as this really interesting character, the agent of chaos that's going to change everything. I think this is the first time we really feel that, and we know that that shit's going to go down in the MCU eventually. And so I really love his performance, and I can't wait to see all the other versions of Kang that Jonathan Majors is going to bring to us. You get a bit of a taste of that. I don't know I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but like he's going to have tons of fun with this role because he could basically reinvent himself every time.
I just wanted to draw a comparison that kind of struck me is like, I couldn't stop watching Jonathan Majors. Like every time he was on screen, I was just like, dang, like, I don't know. I'm like scared of this guy. I just want to see what would happen next, what he would say next, what he would do next, and just, he felt like he was just, he was dangerous in this movie, right? Just, and it was so understated, right? Like the way he tortured them in the, I guess we didn't say we're doing spoilers, but we're doing spoilers at this point, guys. So, buckle up.
Kang the spoiler.
Strap in, baby. We in this.
Yeah, he's like when Cassie and Scott Lang are in the prison cells, he's just tossing them around like ragdolls with his fingertips. I mean, this is like Darth Vader level just control of everything. And it kind of, the thing I was thinking of was like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, how commanding that performance was. You couldn't look away from this guy who had like a cut up eyeball and a mustache, but not in a comedic way. I mean, this dude also felt dangerous, and so I don't know, the two of them just able to, I don't know how they do it, but when they're on camera, able to just sort of like take up the entire amount of attention that you have and not let go. And just like what a tour de force that both of those guys had, and Jonathan Majors kind of achieves that level here, I think.
Yeah, and he's able to do that even by talking in a low voice too, right? Like he is full of rage even in his whispers, and drawing so much attention from people is pure magnetism.
I mean, there's nothing I can say that everybody in the grandma hasn't already said. You know, great actor, lots of gravitas, does a great job of being able to be over the top and like almost hamming it up, but in a way that doesn't take you out of it and really makes you feel just how dangerous this character is. You know, like a small moment, but one of my favorite parts of the movie is when Janet and him fix the engine, right? And she touches it and she sees all the things he's done. And when he realizes that she saw in his mind, you can just, in the theater, I saw the movie twice. I saw it with Tyler Ken, then I saw it again with Mike, actually. But both times I'm like, you can watch this man just be like, oh, well, the cat's out the bag. And he just shifts into this, like the body language shift, even just the way he talked, right? Like when he was there, he made himself sound way more down to earth and innocent. And as soon as he got his power back, even some of it, just his mannerisms and body language completely shifted. It's very well done. And again, just based on post-credit scenes, all that, and what we know, like he's going to get to show off his range. And I think it's going to be a good blend of dramatic and making you uncomfortable, but still hamming it up because it's just variations of yourself. So there's just going to be some really ridiculous versions, but they still make you feel super, super dangerous. So, you know, we all agree that I'm excited that he's going to be the next big bad of the MCU, because now I know for the upcoming movies, he's not going to be the problem as far as acting is concerned. Now the bigger problem, I think, is, oh shit, who's going to be able to match up to him on screen in terms of just bouncing off his character and gravity? But that's like a whole nother conversation. But he was great.
As an interesting question.
Yeah, that being said, I have other well, we'll talk about some of the other characters, but Jonathan Majors was great.
All right. And as far as Kang the Conqueror, you were kind of saying that you didn't love Kang the Conqueror as like a choice here?
So a lot of the MCU characters I actually know a pretty good amount from reading comics. I know next to nothing about Kang, and it's because I don't care about Kang. Like, I'm serious. Like, when there's comics that involve Kang,
it's not that I don't know you. It's that I don't care to know you.
Exactly. No, real talk. Because there's lots of villains.
Is that what you said to Mike's fiance?
Oh my God! Don't do that. That's not fair. No, I didn't do it. No.
Ooh,
Mike, Anna, that is. Y'all know that those are objectively false statements. I deny these allegations.
Stirring the pot.
Yes, throwing the pot on. Anyways, see, dang it! Now I lost what I was. Look, I was.
Okay, so you don't care about Kang. And
I didn't care about
up in the comics.
Yeah, because I didn't care about Kang. You just to me, I've never been interested in the just time traveling villain character, because they often just feel very one note. It's just, okay, you're greedy, you want power, yada yada, and I still feel that way, honestly. But I just have a lot of faith in Jonathan Majors' acting in the MCU. I just think historically has done a good job of making villains better than what some of their comic origins are. Like, I think they generally have a positive track record for that. So I'm just kind of putting faith in them on that, of them selling me on Kang on screen, which honestly they're doing really well. But comic character just wasn't interesting. His outfit looked hokey. He had the blue face and the really ridiculous purple green suit. You know, the movie did a good job of making it not look ridiculous. So again, shout out to the design folks. But his just he never had a cool power set. Like, his whole thing is just, okay, he's just a man, but with lots of God level tech, which is cool, but just not. I've kind of been interested in the more grounded, more compelling, down to earth villains than like I'm just a God conqueror. So I just never cared, but they're winning me over. I'm becoming a fan of them. You know, I also wasn't a big Thanos fan until the Infinity Saga, so like they could absolutely shift my opinion, and they're doing so.
And what I've read about Kang's motivations in the comics, right, is that he's this time traveling guy from the future with, as you said, God level technology, but he's also kind of just a bored genius or something like that. So that's his primary motivation for going back in time and ruining
it's
things.
Just Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, like he's entertaining himself. And yeah, I think probably in the comics, like that's not the most fun or captivating reason. So they have not got into that in the MCU about why this guy's doing what he's doing. But
Kind
even
of.
if that ultimately is so the two versions, let's talk about that. The two versions of Kang, the TVA version, he's saying he's trying to stop all the other Kangs, right?
Yeah.
And then in the Quantum Realm Kang, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's also saying something similar.
I think they both wanted the same thing, but like one was a lot more likable post victory, and the other is such an objective jerk that his peers all banded up against him. But I think they both mentioned the same thing of the multiverse dying, straight line, stop the other versions of yourself just screwing around. Like, I actually think they're different but very similar characters, which was so. Like, he almost reminds me of the Kang we got in the movie. Almost reminds me of what the Loki Kang would have been like, trying to win the war. Almost like, I know they're still distinct, but like they're actually really two cool sides of the same coin. Different man, which was dope.
I think that adds a layer, right? He's not just bored. In some ways, he sees himself as the savior of all life in the universe.
Janet said it. He basically said that, like, I'm the only one who sees. She's like, and you're the only one who sees. I'm like, yes, actually, I'm the only one. Like, you trying to be funny about it, but like, yes. And his point about the multiverse dying and all that, and what we know about incursions from Doctor Strange, like we've seen from some Marvel stuff, he isn't wrong. Incursions, we saw in Doctor Strange what an incursion universe looks like.
Yeah,
he is actively trying to stop that. So like, they're already doing a good job of making his motivations better. And the Kang we saw at the end of Loki also kind of let us know a little bit ahead of time, hey, this threat that this later Kang is talking about, he ain't lying. Like, everything he said to Scott was true from what we know from Loki. Like, oh, he ain't BSing him. So like, that, I think that already is making him a more compelling character of, what does Janet say? You'll kill trillions. And he's like, dude, I wish that mattered. Because in his mind, saving the multiverse is more important than that. And I'm like, yo, if you're just doing it by the numbers, he's not wrong. He's still a villain, but like, this really might be a down the line with like, hey, yo, the Ant-Man Kang was right. And because he's beefing with his other versions of him too. Like, he's very much on an island. It's really dope.
So one thing you can actually, you can kind of infer from all of this is that, once Sylvie killed the TVA Kang, that enabled all these other timelines to start existing. And in each one of those, there's a Kang. And those Kangs, all do what they do, conquer, destroy, whatever. And then so the Kang in the quantum realm is part of that, right? He's one of those in some random timeline, and is trying to stop all of those guys. But it sounds like, from what we understand from the end credits scene, right, is that those Kangs have banded together and were probably the ones who banished the quantum realm Kang into the quantum realm to prevent all of them from doing whatever it is that they're doing.
They want their own universes, and he wanted specifically to like stop that, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, but it's also, they want their own universe, but they also want access to everybody else's universe.
Yeah,
like, they want to keep messing with stuff.
Yeah.
And he's, in some ways, he's saying, at least up front, I want to stop that. Now, whether that's entirely true, we'll see. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of interesting stuff. And, this could go in a lot of different directions too, especially with that Council of Kangs. Like, who knows what they're up to, and how, why are they even banding together, right?
Yeah, and you see,
they are the way they are.
Yeah, and you see, it's interesting because Kang is a character who I never cared about. I had to like look up myself. Each of those versions of those three we saw are their own distinct like comic versions of him too, with their own like motives and such. I didn't dive too deep into it because I actually kind of want to be. This is a chance for me to be mildly surprised going in and not really know backstory stuff. But this is going to be fun. I think Jonathan Majors, has the acting chops to make this really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right. Jonathan Majors, a win. Kang, I think it's a win. You guys sound like you're like, ooh.
I think they're successfully adapting him.
Jury's out, maybe. All right. What other wins are in this movie. I've got a few. I'm going to throw them out there, see what you guys think. For me, it was a win that this is the first movie in a while where we've sort of got an idea of what the actual threat is here. I feel like in a bunch of the other movies we've recently seen, we're not really sure what kind of peril the universe is in. And now I think we got like a hint of it in Doctor Strange. We got a hint of it in Loki, obviously. But I think now we're really starting to understand the full, like, okay, here's where kind of we're going. Here's how this is kind of going to come together. And as someone who just kind of likes to know where like things stand, that was a nice thing for me. Like we've sort of hinted at it, I think, a little bit now. Now we're kind of like, okay, cool. Like we do know that Kang is actually pretty dangerous. And we're going to get to see it. I know this one might be good for Savon. We're seeing non-humanoid characters in the quantum realm here, rather than just everybody looking like a human. We're seeing actually like some kind of wild character designs, which are cool. Like they don't just have 2 arms and 2 legs and like a slightly changed face. It's like actually these are just completely differently made up beings, which is cool. And then that enables the whole gag.
Didn't hated the whole gag.
And then the drink the ooze, which like, oh my god, the drink the ooze made me laugh so hard.
That was good. That was a good writing. That was a good little writing thing they threw in, because sometimes that's one of those things where people nitpick how much they care about that. Like sometimes they care, sometimes they don't. How can they all speak the same language? And they just said, "Hey, we're just gonna nip this at the bud." And I'm actually cool. Like, I actually appreciated that. Because somebody back at home would be like, "How do they all understand each other in the quantum realm?" Like, "Hey, let's just do." The writers like, "Hey, let's just nip this at the bud now."
Yeah, that was awesome. And then
I respect.
This movie did a lot to present choices that were like, you have bad choice A or you have bad choice B, and I thought that made a lot of like the choices kind of have stakes. So like, Ant-Man is having to choose whether to sacrifice his daughter or sacrifice millions. Kang kind of forces his hand in that, or tries
Trillions.
to. Trillions. Kang is also sort of wrestling with this, right? He's not even wrestling with it, but his idea is like, well, I could kill all of these people now and subjugate them, or I could let, the multiverse collapse on itself and then everybody dies, right? And so like he in his mind, he's thinking, well, this bad choice is better than this other bad choice. And I thought this was like classic putting people in conundrums over and over again kind of made the story more interesting, rather than just being like, here's the good guys and here's the bad guys. It was just like, oh, here's a bunch of like shit choices that you got to make. Go make them. So I thought the movie had quite a few wins. Savon, were there any other wins for you, or are you kind of out on this?
No, I mean, not the non-humanoid stuff, but I actually just love just the designs of all the worlds and just the quantum realm as a whole. Everything just being so colorful, and gravity and angles and stuff not working the way you think it does. Just looking up and it's beautiful.
Oh, I wouldn't think you'd enjoy that because you like everything so grounded.
No, but I mean, it's like send it. Like if you're gonna do it, don't kind of like do 1 foot in 1 foot out type deal. They went all in on the quantum realm being this just otherworldly place where the rules aren't the rules and things don't make sense. And and I'm not the only person to say this. Lots of people are saying it had a very funky Star Wars feel, and I agree with that in a very good way. I love that aesthetic, and I love that it was adapted into the quantum realm MCU. Like that was a place where I felt like it would make sense. It was the same reason I think people like Guardians of the Galaxy design stuff, of like, hey, they're just having fun with some of this stuff, and sometimes it's okay to just have all these funky beings in places that don't make sense, but like, hey, you're not on Earth. That's how it is, right?
Yeah.
On top of the character designs.
It was very like Star Wars meets A Strange World, which is that other Disney movie that came out last year that very few people saw.
I did not see it.
Poorly marketed. But it was good. And then another pleasant surprise, this is what I was most surprised by, is that I did not expect for Janet and Hank to be 2 of my favorite characters in the movie. At this point, Hank especially, his character arc is kind of done. He's done all his stuff. He's handed over the company. He's learned to share the pin particles. Like his art, he doesn't really have a lot left to do as a character. Janet actually, but what was dope is that Hank was just super interesting as like a nerd, and I felt like they made him just really true to some like what an old version of him in the comics would be. Like I know people had mixed feeling about the ant stuff. I loved it because it was very much incredibly in line with just how his character is, and like, yo, this is some Hank stuff this is on brand. I didn't expect Michelle Pfeiffer to just as Janet just be so good. Like she had a
thumbs down.
I enjoyed her
she
a
was
lot.
Good. I think
I enjoyed her a lot. Like her and Kang together in their interactions were amazing because unlike Ant-Man, who doesn't have any actual character chemistry with Kang outside of him threatening his daughter, those two actually have a relationship. Like they talked for years, confided in each other, talked about things, lost in love.
They definitely hooked up though, right?
I think the writers threw in Bill Murray. I think the writers tried to throw in Bill Murray as their hookup so that they could make that less of a focus.
Okay.
And make you not think it was him instead. But like, there's no way they didn't. Like that's just not. I feel like the writers really. Someone had this conversation in the cutting room floor of how do we get the viewers to not focus on Janet X
sexual
Kang.
Yeah.
Like how do we make that not the focus? And it's like, all right, let's just throw in Bill Murray to have that be the okay. Who was she hollering at? And it's like, okay, so she was hollering at Bill Murray, but not Jonathan Majors. All right,
yeah. We know Jonathan Majors is a thirst trap. Like Creed 3, MBJ, and Jonathan Majors exist for that reason alone.
Yeah, I'm just like, come on, whatever. I think the writers are just trying to go around and we grown adults. You use your imagination.
And he's called Kang the Conqueror. You told me he's
come
not
on,
trying
now.
to...
You think holler?
Yeah.
No. But seriously though, Michelle Pfeiffer was great. Like her on screen, like the way she really sold the like, yo, some awful stuff happened here, and I don't know for how aggravating I'm sure her family was with her just the lies and deception. I was very much sold on like why you would just never want to talk about that again. Like people go through traumatic stuff in real life that's not that level at all, and they never talk about it. So I could understand just when she said, "Yo, I just wanted to go home and be your parent." I was like, I feel that. Like I get it, but I think that was part of that is a credit to Jonathan Majors because those two just had really good on-screen chemistry and the interactions felt just very like, oof. So
I bought that they wouldn't want to talk. I bought that they wouldn't want to talk, or she wouldn't want to talk about it. But there was a long stretch there where it was like they're being attacked or like things are happening. They're looking for Scott. They know that like something is out there, and she could have just given them a heads up, like, "Hey, there's this really dangerous guy here." Right? Like, just give us a little bit, like, I don't need the full story, but like they asked her several times, like, "Mom, what's going on?" And she was like, "I can't talk about it right now. We're moving on. Let's just follow me." It's like, they got to know a little, like, you got to have a little bit of trust that like the people around you need some information to like make good choices here. And like, she
never had parents. This is very much how parents work. You know how much stuff our parents are 100% never going to tell us, even if the world is literally burning
when
down.
someone asks you directly, like, "What's out there, Mom?" And she was like, "We'll talk about it later." Like, come on, you're in the middle of a running like sequence. Like, tell them what's at least a little bit. Like, hey, this guy can kill us. Let's keep moving.
BTW, there's a warmonger here.
Yeah, like just give us the headline at least. She gave them nothing except like, "No, we'll just talk about it later." Like, can we please talk about this later? We just need to stay together. I'm like, oh my god, come on! Like, you don't gotta go into the whole thing. But
when do you teach Kaya about climate change? And when do you teach her about murderous cops? And when do you teach her about mass shootings?
Yeah,
let us know, parents.
Well, you gotta let them know a little bit. Give us the headline at least. So anyways,
I think that's the most real. You're right, but that's also the most realistic part of the movie. Your parents just not sharing pertinent information because it's just like, dude, what come on.
Don't you also have parents who like they're not gonna call you and tell you that like someone in the family is sick because they're like, "Oh, we just didn't want you to worry. We wanted you to take care of your life."
Yeah,
but what if you ask them directly, "Hey, is Auntie, so and so sick?" And they were like, "We'll talk about it later." You're like, "But I'm on the way."
That's
to
the most realistic answer.
I feel like that happened.
I'm on the way to the hospital. Maybe I could use a little heads up so I could take them, a bowl of soup. You don't have to tell me like they got cancer. Just tell me they're at the hospital at least, and I'll bring them something.
That's not how human beings work, dog.
That was dumb. It was like clearly
it was realistic. It was dumb, but it was realistic.
No,
I think what you're saying, Wes, is that why did like Scott and the Wasp, why did they not throw a kerfuffle at it? At the end, they're like, "You didn't tell us about that guy."
Wait. So that is a critique I do have about the movie, which maybe we'll get to once we talk about the glows, because I do have like there was a noticeable theme in the movie that I'm like, this is disappointing.
All right, so those are the wins. I also don't think it's controversial probably to say that this movie was a little bit, inconsistent. It had some weaker spots. What missed the mark for you? Savon, you can start us off. You got to finish us off on the win, so.
I think the biggest, there's one that I'm just not going to spend a bunch of time on because like there's more pertinent things to talk about. I think the daughter Cassie was just a miss. I don't think she brought anything cool power set or just like character wise to the table. Janet, not Janet, Jane. Like Jane gets to did she have a lot to say? No, but she still gets to be the badass of the group. Like she has all the super successful company and zips around flying, right? Michelle Pfeiffer gets to be
are you talking about Hope?
I'm sorry. Dang it. Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Hope gets to be like the resident badass of the group. Scott gets to be the main
you're
character.
Saying any of the female characters, not good. You're just hating on the female characters right now.
What? No, I'm saying Hope was awesome.
He's just being misogynist.
No,
yeah. Hey, that's not what this podcast is about. Savon.
I'm saying that Hope got to be the badass of the group because she got to just do lots of cool action sequences and be the competent fighter. Scott was like your lead. Michael Douglas's Hank got to be the nerd. Michelle Pfeiffer got to be like, okay, I know the area, and she has the relationship with Kang, and so they all had something.
I know the area, but I'm not going to share any information with y'all. It's cool.
I mean, point is, her character still had like a significant role in the plot story-wise, and I felt like everyone else, and even like Hope, who had probably the least to do, still got to do cool action stuff. And right. I felt like Cassie was just there, and she brought none of that. She doesn't get to be a super cool badass because she's inexperienced. She doesn't have a cool power set or unique things she can do different. Like, she just took up space that I felt like the other characters could have just filled in a more... Like, you could have given her time and let that be more time for Hope in the movie. I think that was just a definite miss. Like, that was easily the weakest part of the movie. And then the other kind of what we were talking about with the forgiveness thing is that the movie, like, it had stakes in terms of giving people these hard options, but ultimately the movie ended on too positive of a note, and I think that took away from what this larger adventure could have been. And I think the way they shifted it could have been easy. Like, even if at the end of the movie, okay, you've done all this, but to your point, Brian, all right, we're done with this, but now Janet's relationship with everybody is hyper damaged because like blah blah blah, or maybe Kang does get out, or like I'm okay with Kang losing, but I'm not okay with all the characters at the end not having some type of like L or thing to reflect on or cliffhanger. Like there's no broken relationships because of Janet's lies. There's no, maybe one of them actually does get stuck or someone dies and you just like wrap up, you knock somebody off the team just because, I don't always say you need to kill people to make the stakes real, but like there was just little things like that they could have done where the overall movie could have stayed the same and that would have just made the payoff feel better. But I felt like everything ending with such a relatively neat bow took away from what should have been like Kang's kind of like big introduction. And I know he left his fate a little ambiguous, and I get it, but and obviously he's going to come back in other ways, but they could have made his stamp on the Ant family a little bit heavier. Like it could have been, maybe we reflect on Janet really being like, yo, I unleashed this monster and it got away, or maybe we're still unsure, or your family is broken and like, hey, this family has this happy start where everyone's all happy and now it's broken because even though we came out this venture alive, we as a family didn't stay strong because of all this other stuff. Like there's stuff they could have done, and I felt it was just too happy of an ending. It was a PG-13 movie with a rated G ending, and I'm like, dude, give us some PG-13. You can kill somebody off, or someone can be injured, or no one lost anything.
Yeah, maim someone, please. Like lose a limb.
I'm saying, like Hank Pym's. I'm not saying you needed to kill off Hank, but like, dog, he could have. And even if he's not a super main character, you could have. His character's functionally done at this point. There's nothing left for him to do. There's just something they could have done. Someone could have been stuck in the realm. There's a bunch of different slight ways they could have been like, all right, we're gonna actually have character A through E be here instead of here, and they didn't. And I think it hurt the landing of the film. All the stuff up until that, I like good and bad. I can tolerate, but the payoff just didn't feel great walking away.
I completely agree with that statement. The fact that they just were able to pull Scott back out of the quantum realm at the end of the movie, like no problem at all. Like it was just so, it felt so unearned, right? It's like, he's trapped back there fighting Kang, and then like, well, we're gonna just pick you up now, and like, nothing of consequence really happened, right? The board is almost exactly the way it was when we started the film. And I agree that I really wanted this film to go darker, right? And it had the room to do so. It would have helped establish Kang, as you say, but also just make us believe that the stakes were actually real. The whole movie, you have Cassie, who's, I think her role was the SJW, Savon. She's like, Dad, why aren't you taking a stand in these fights?
And that was good for a little bit, but there was a bunch of little things that they didn't do to flesh that out meaningfully.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, because I don't think there's anything wrong with like her point about, hey, Dad, you should still do something instead of being like a celebrity. Like, she was 100% right.
Yeah.
Like, I agreed, but man, just she could have had, I don't know. They still gave her too much. She still had too much movie than. She had too much movie for.
But I think like
that role.
Her making that point makes you want or need Scott to actually live up to whatever that means, right? Like in this movie, I don't get the sense that he really changed or that he, went outside of himself to like save people, right? So like the whole time I'm thinking Scott's gonna die, or Scott's gonna sacrifice himself, or and I think the trailers are trying to hint at that too, right? That this is going to be a more serious turn for Scott, and like and he's fighting for his family, he's fighting for his daughter. Let me see him scrap tooth and nail and really sacrifice himself, whatever it takes, at all costs, to do something that is right, or to do something for the people that he loves. And we don't get that. It's like, oh, MODOK comes in and the ants come in to take care of Kang, and then he gets in this like little fist fight, and then whoop, Hope comes in, pulls you out of the quantum realm, like, done. So I think that just kind of undercut a lot of the story, and so it when you don't stick the landing in a movie that's really trying to establish the major bad for the next several phases of the MCU, you're going to leave audiences wanting.
Yeah, I mean, like, to your point, and it's interesting because they had it up until the very end. Literally, even when Kang's like, you think you could win? He's like, no, I just need us both to lose. I'm like, cool, self-sacrifice. You're going to trap him here. Like, they had it all set up right there. All you had, and I even think Hope coming in to punch.
It was right there.
I think even Hope zapping in to punch him, I thought that was fine. Of like, all right, do the last minute denial. I'm cool with that. But I needed the two of them to stay in the quantum realm. Like, that's like, that would have stuck the landing of, oh, sacrifice. And it reestablishes, because it wasn't a big focus, but like, okay, these two still are love interests and they're supposed to have their own, like, that would have driven home a bunch of other things that once you undid that, it's like, oh, like clearly there was someone in the executive suite or something. There was a fork in the road of like, because they wanted to kill off Scott for sure. And clearly there was like they probably had different endings in mind, but leave that portal closed and then just leave it ambiguous. The Kang stuff could still be up in the air, but hey, Ant-Man made a tangible sacrifice. Him and the Wasp, they're stuck there and they stopped this dude from coming out, and Janet can talk about it to the outside world. It would have been like, stuck the landing, and all the other stuff I didn't like, including Cassie, would have been like, all right, well, it ended in something that made it pay off. And so like, man, it's rough when you don't stick your landing like that, dog. And it's clear that, Marvel just be scared to do like sad endings sometimes. Like, Infinity War was so good because the heroes lost. Like, it's okay for the heroes to lose because it makes the bounce back that much better, right? Like, aren't there Rocky movies? I've never seen a Rocky movie, but aren't there Rocky movies where Rocky loses and then he comes back, right? Because that makes the
first
win.
Movie he
doesn't
loses.
Doesn't it like make it when he come back that much? Like, you can have them lose and not die. Like, there's a bunch of, they could have had, I don't know, they were trying to do a lot of things, and like, there's just so many micro choices that would have worked out that I don't think would have been super intrusive.
Yeah, clearly a C-suite executive at Disney was like, "What? We don't have Robert Downey Jr. I think we need Paul Rudd. We need him in everything now."
Yeah.
All right. I had two major problems and I won't go too into depth. I think you guys have highlighted the biggest issue. I think now I'm like, yeah, the ending was kind of the biggest issue. But what sort of led up to that was Ant-Man. He kind of only had one move, and he's clearly not on the same level as Kang. So Ant-Man just being sort of comedic, he's obviously not very like smart. He's not very like strategic or tactical. He's like maybe plucky, I think is maybe the like
plucky
most,
is the word,
right? He's just kind of that, but
that is the word.
He's
definitely. I thought you were saying like there's a character named Plucky out there.
No, that's Bucky.
That's but they're just not. The movie made it clear that they were not on the same level. Like Ant-Man's only move was the run, jump, and tap, right? Like that was it. He had one move, and that was it. Kang had several moves and several like advantages throughout the movie that were established as like, oh damn, like this dude is like a monster, right? And in a power way, he's a monster. And they just never presented Ant-Man as capable. He was always sort of made fun of. He's just kind of a joke. Yeah, he cares about his family and he'll do the right thing, but you know, that's kind of it. And so it just never felt like he had the ability ever to really challenge Kang if Kang was like actually going to use his powers, even in the quantum realm. And kind of in the end, he didn't, right? Like, I mean, the ants really sort of won the day.
Kang dog walked Ant-Man and the whole Ant-Man family the entire movie. Like,
yeah.
Ant-Man was the main character, but every fight, and it is not a close fight. Every time they fight, Kang wins low difficulty. Like, I actually think they sold me pretty well on the Ant-Man's out of his league, because even when he was fighting through the little city thing, like, all right, he's holding his own then and still needs help. But like every time Kang comes in the picture, he very much like low difficulty. Even at the end when they don't have their power, because it's like, oh, you might even think, oh, it's because of the suits. They both have broken suits, and Jonathan Majors beat the shit out of that man. There was a point
he's
where
like twice his weight.
Yeah, there was a point where he was really
should not be a fight.
He's twice his weight and half his age. Like, he was, I'm saying, like, y'all see, remember that part with John May? He was really pop, pop, pop. He really was doing like, yo, that was from the Creed movie. He was doing some of them Creed. He was doing the moves from Creed 3 on him. I was like, oh my God. Like, yo, Ant-Man, you are cooked.
Yeah.
But, sorry,
but that
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Continue.
but so that made it a problem that they end up winning. Like, it was just never going to be... It was just never going to be a thing. And it just felt like, okay, well, all I feel like now is Ant-Man has no actual reason for being part of the Avengers or like in this fight. Like he's just a normal, like you said, grounded character. He doesn't have laser beams. He doesn't have anything except run, jump, tap. And like, that's not going to be
occasionally I'm super big, but super slow.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to beat Kang. There's zero chance. And so I don't understand how they decided like this was the movie where this was going to happen. Because it's just not a fight where you're going to be like, oh, okay, it's a stalemate. Or, oh, like, Scott gets his ass kicked, right? Like, that should have been the movie, like you guys said, is just, it should have been clear, like, oh, Kang has this power, Scott does not, Ant-Man, and so, like, that's why Ant-Man needs to go get help from everybody else or whatever, like, to actually defeat Kang, because he can't win.
I think
and he can't win. He shouldn't have. There shouldn't have been a win here at all.
I think you're ultimately spinning the block on critiquing the ending. Like, I think that's what we're getting back to the root of again, because when we saw the fights, Kang was winning. It's not like we weren't sold on Kang's, like, because even when the ants came and did their ant stuff, Kang still came. I think that's still the ending. Like, I think this is one of those, the fights with Kang retroactively would look better knowing what the ending, if the movie had been ended, because then it would have really sold on like, oh, when he was cooking them in the beginning, middle, and end of the movie, all of it made sense. So even if it's a stalemate or whatever, it's like, but yet to your point, like them coming out winning unscathed undermined him beating their ass throughout the movie before, which was them doing great.
They never established that Kang had some sort of vulnerability, right? Like you're thinking Darth Vader, like big
he's
bad
a dude,
but he had, but like Vader's vulnerability ends up being that he has a son.
His heart of gold.
Right. So to speak. If he has a heart at all.
His filial responsibilities, his fatherly responsibilities.
They never established any kind of vulnerability for Kang. And we know that he does have a vulnerability because he got sent to the quantum realm, but that didn't get exploited here. That wasn't what they used. You know, like there was just zero way that they should have won within the framework of the movie. And so I think that was frustrating to me.
How is MODOK like chainsawing his way through Kang's force field. Makes no sense.
None. And then the other thing that bothered me, so I'm going to disagree here. Savon was saying like he liked Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought the Ant-Man family had zero chemistry. Hope and Ant-Man are supposed, or Scott Lang are supposed to be, in love and da-da-da. They didn't they barely hugged. I think one time they hugged. There was no kissing. There was no jokes between them. They had zero lines together. The parents, Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer's character, they were just kind of whatever. I didn't care about them. Even the relationship between Scott Lang and his daughter and Cassie, that didn't feel particularly deep or meaningful. Even when she's in prison, I know he's like, oh, wait, blah, blah, and it's like, well, okay, I guess. But, it's not the same as they've established other characters. And I don't know why, but maybe it's COVID filming, but this one just felt like there was no actual chemistry or feeling or relationship. And, if you compare between Black Panther, the characters in there, they feel real. They butt heads. They have heated conversations. They have low key conversations, and that dynamic is just so much better. And I don't know why this one fell flat for me, but I could not understand how this team didn't feel like a team at all, and never felt like a team, and never felt like they liked each other or togetherness or apartness to them. They just sort of existed in this kind of medium. I don't know, just didn't care about it.
You know who Scott has more chemistry with?
Hank.
His group of bad guys.
Yeah,
the other thieves that he was hanging out with.
The crew.
I miss those guys.
Yeah.
Where's Luis?
Couldn't he have entered the quantum realm with them?
I would have
been way better.
And I missed the okay, so
now he's Polka Dot Man though, so I don't know.
Well, Polka Dot Man died. Can I respond? I'm gonna respond to that, Wes, because I have a couple thoughts. Some there's levels of agree and disagree. Be quick. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas's characters, I thought their chemistry on the talking on the ship throughout the movie, I actually really enjoyed their chemistry. Hope, we talked before, they didn't give her a whole lot to do, so I don't really think she got to have chemistry. She got to be the badass, but didn't really get to be have lines and agency storyline wise. But here's the real problem, and it's back to why I think Cassie was just an unnecessary character, unfortunately, is that they wanted to emphasize the relationship with her and Ant-Man, which is why Hope was separated from them at the beginning of the movie. You say why they're not together is because storyline wise, they're in completely different areas in the quantum realm and don't interact until you're getting into almost the end of the final act of the movie. So some of that was a writing decision of, we got to develop the Scott Cassie relationship. But if that falls flat from
and it never developed.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I think some of it is just this movie. They were trying to do too many things in this movie. And had they decided...
Sounds familiar with Marvel.
Yeah. And had they decided to do one less thing, the other stuff would have had room to breathe. But it's hard to introduce Kang and do the Ant-Man family where there's a family dynamic you have to lean into. And there was a lot of stuff they were trying to do.
MODOK had an arc.
You would have had that
necessary.
Yeah, that movie, for them to do some of it, they would have had to have the movie be at least another 20 minutes. And I don't know if people are going to be hyped about a 2.5 hour Ant-Man Wasp movie. Now, I'm here for it, but to your point, a lot of the characters that made the OG Ant-Man movies good, Luis, the whole crew, not even that, his ex-wife and the husband, they had a whole, Scott's relationship with his, with Cassie's stepdad was hilarious because it was for once an on-screen portrayal of a blended family that actually gets along.
With Jimmy Woo? No,
and they did a little bit of the Jimmy Woo in the beginning opening montage, but I think you needed Cassie's essentially a new character, and to make space for that, they pulled away some of the Hope relationship stuff, cut out most of the crew and some of them, and those are a lot of the characters that gave the other two Ant-Man movies their heart, which is what makes the Ant-Man character work. But if it's just his new daughter character who's a lot harder to engage with, and it's taking away from the chemistry with everybody else because he's so isolated from them, it hurts what made the other movies good. Because I thought Ant-Man and Hank on screen, their relationship is hilarious. You know, when he's like, "You read my book," every goddamn word. Like the cheesy mutual father-son respect between them is hilarious. You know, like that's why I enjoyed Michael Douglas. He was funny with I think he had chemistry with everybody because he's just a damn good actor. But I just think I just think there was X amount of time of things to do in this movie, and the Scott Cassie thing took up a lot, and it didn't land, which retroactively means everything else got hurt.
And I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, like everything, everywhere,
easy,
everywhere, all at once. Like Michelle Yeoh and her daughter in that movie. By the end, I'm like crying, right? Like how much pain you see between the two characters, how it develops, and like that was well earned and brilliantly done. So I'm not saying like, and that doesn't happen in every movie, and so like, hey, they didn't do it in this movie, you know, like I couldn't have done it better. Just I wanted there to be just more meat on in all these relationships.
Oh no, I agree. I just think that's the why. I agree with you.
Yeah,
though. Everything you said, most of the stuff you said, I agree.
This movie, though, did benefit from one particular on-screen bit of chemistry that I think was off the charts. It's really with Hank Pym and Bill Murray. When Bill Murray is like, Eskimo bros? Huh? Eskimo bros?
They even did the human joke, and that's what you call yourself, in all the ways that matter. I was like, that was... Even when he talks about the rebound the ship, he's just like, why didn't it work out? She wasn't you, baby. Just like, yes, I'm with you. I don't know. There was a lot of still really funny standout parts of the movie. It's just, you know, the big broad strokes are like, oh man, there's so much potential.
All right. In a rather spectacular sequence in the movie, Ant-Man kind of gets into this probability field or quantum effect. They tried to explain it. I didn't really get it, but there's like millions of Ant-Man that just kind of appear, and they're all different versions of him with slightly different personalities or slightly different histories. But what happens is one of the versions of Scott Lang that gets generated is his Baskin-Robbins self, with his name tag saying Jack. So I wanted to take us a little bit out of the realm of this movie, but just connect it. What is the most obscure or annoying job you've ever had? Brian, I want to hear your answer.
So it's a little bit annoying, but it's more so that it's obscure. One summer in high school, a homie of mine was like, yo, come to this thing, come and interview for this job. And it was like it's like the most unbelievable kind of job. It was basically us taking the train to Queens to Flushing Meadows to try out to be ball boys for the US Open.
Did you make it?
And like I didn't even know what I was getting into, and I made it.
Hey!
I became a US Open ball boy for like several weeks one summer. And you know, I'm like positioned at the net, which means like anytime that the ball hits the net, I got to sprint across the court, scoop up a ball with my hands, you know, not make an idiot of myself in front of like a stadium of people and on TV occasionally, and make it to the other side of the court. And then you also got to throw the ball down to like the other ball people, excuse me, because they're also
at the baseline,
girls and women, you know, at the baseline. And I'm not a very good thrower. Which is why I was positioned.
You're a
at
shower.
The net.
Oh, sorry.
I try to be.
Good God.
So, so it was kind of like a very obscure job. Definitely a little bit annoying, because you know you're a peon, right? Like you're picking up shit after people. You gotta like hand like dirty towels or like pick up dirty towels from the athletes and stuff, and they're like, you know, they're like preening on the court, you know, like with their nose up in the air, and they don't even recognize you as a human being. They're just like, give me the damn balls, right? And like,
were they really that rude?
If you get in the way, you're gonna get yanked out of there, right?
Okay.
And banished from, you know. So like some of them were quite rude, including a very famous women's tennis player with a famous sister who shall not be named on this podcast.
Ooh.
When you say ball boy, this isn't basketball?
No, this is tennis, man.
Yo, on God, I thought you were talking about basketball this entire time. I was like, somebody on the Knicks just being Did you know this
said
was tennis?
U.S. Open. Yeah, he said U.S. Open.
U.S. Open.
Ooh, boy, I must be uncultured as shit because when I heard U.S. Open, I don't know what my brain did, but it did not just say, "Oh, tennis." I don't know.
I know it's in Flushing. I knew where the U.S. Open's held. So.
Yeah, I don't know about Flushing. I do know about Flushing, but not Flushing. But like, sorry, that was my.
Asians live out there.
About a toilet flushing.
It's cool. It's cool.
Don't the Asians live out in Flushing? Isn't that?
Oh yeah. That's basically Chinatown, like mega Chinatown is in Flushing over there.
The real Chinatown.
So
that's a cool job.
If Ball Boy Brian were like a careerist ball boy,
that would be weird.
You have a lot of issues, I think.
Did you wear the uniform with the giant polo logo on it? There was a way where they had that.
This is pre-polo sponsorship. This was Fila. That's how long ago this was. This was a Fila sponsorship.
Nice. Are they not a thing anymore?
Yeah.
Fila's made a comeback.
Yeah, sort of. Fila always like does this sort of like cyclical thing. They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out.
Oh man, Fila was so big in middle school. Those Grant Hills that had like the triangle logo on the side, basically, or like the patent leather strip. You know what I'm talking about? No,
vaguely.
Grant Hill. Okay,
I remember there were Grant Hills. Yeah.
The Grant Hills
that's
were
not
very
what
popular.
they outfitted me with at the U.S. Open, unfortunately.
All right. My random job in college, I came back, for the summer to Long Beach and worked at a sushi restaurant. I got a job as a busboy, which was not my forte. I mean, the thing that I could do was I could work hard. I could just work forever. I would never stop. I was just like, hey, I was taking dishes, blah, blah, all this stuff. But man,
you could do this all day.
Yeah, I was the Captain America of busboys, guys. But I was bad at that job, man.
Is this pre-serum or post-serum?
I think Wes is always pre-serum.
Yeah. Look at these. I
mean, you can't have the moniker no muscles and be serumed.
I would, sometimes I'd carry drinks out, like water or whatever, tea to people. And I pretty much think on the tray, I would do 4, maybe 6 max. Once I got beyond that, man, like I was going to drop that tray. So I would make multiple trips if I had to. And then when people got there, it was the busboy's job to take kind of a drink order, just like water, tea, whatever, even sake. What did you want? And if it was more than 3 people, I had to write that shit down. I had like zero ability to remember past 3 people. So it was not.
Things have not changed.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was not the strength of my job.
When you said that job, I was like, oh my God. Unless you just regressed, this would have just been really rough.
The memorizing was very difficult for me. They did tips kind of in a shady way. You didn't get like a % of the tips from the waitresses or the servers. You got $20 a night or like $15 a night. And that was
damn.
Like, so it didn't really matter.
They're taking advantage of you.
Yeah. That's dirty.
But because I did like a good job, because I was like, basically I just like worked the whole time. I didn't like stop. They would give me more money. So a lot of times I would get $40 and stuff like that, which probably, I don't know, as a % of what they pulled in was like a decent amount. And this was just,
think about inflation or whatnot. That would have been what?
I'm not that old. God damn.
What? That would have been what, like 20 years ago?
It would be like $1,000.
It was like 20 years ago.
Okay, well, dang. Look, inflation was different in 2002.
Yeah, I mean, I worked, I think I probably worked like 4 or 5 days a week. So, having 40 extra bucks was meaningful. So, and I'd get sushi every now and then, like they'd hook me up with something, but I would make just like they'd let me make like a chicken teriyaki plate basically every night if I wanted. I could use any of the materials that they had and just like throw something together, get some rice out. So I would make myself a rice bowl. The chefs would teach me how to kind of, just stir fry stuff, and I'll be like, okay, cool. So interesting experience, not one I want to repeat, but I thought it was I enjoyed the part about it where I was up on my feet, moving all the time. It wasn't like sitting in a cubicle, just like being bored out of my mind. I was never bored. That part was cool. So, but yeah, random job trying to collect everybody's, plates and shit. I was,
and you always smelled like soy sauce.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wonderful for an Asian man walking around, just like.
Y'all were friends. So did he actually smell like soy sauce, or was this just like a?
I smelled them from across the country.
Brian would not have been around, but yeah, it was definitely, you smelled like something afterwards, because just like the cooking that was going on in the kitchen.
Yeah, you just absorb it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oof.
Savon, what was your random job? What would be your
know.
Ant-Man random, like, oh, what? That's not a TFA. Savon,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess random, because I mean, I had like a few. I guess random is also tied with like my least favorite, which is when I was just like looking for just a more permanent or more like serious job. In the meantime, I just need bread. So I was working at the UPS warehouse that was like around the corner from my house, and
the one off of Downman.
Yep, you know exactly what
I've been there.
About. Yeah. So I used to work there for a few months and was not a fan. It was I mean, because basically, so you know those semis that you just see, like the big cargo semis. My job was just to load them joints up with just whatever crap people ordered from all over the world. So I had like the place I worked at was like a little docking station where you had a bunch of different semis, and you had the big semi trailers that are all empty, and you had to fill them up and scan the stuff and stack it. And it was this crazy game of basically they want you to stack it a particular way to maximize space and protect people's stuff. They also want you to scan it like a blah 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 rate. And I'm like, yo, dude, you gonna have to pick which one you want. I could stack these boxes right, or I could sling. And then I would see some of the veteran older dudes. They didn't give a damn. They were slinging your TVs. They didn't give a damn. Like,
I knew
a whole lawnmower. Because sometimes you got to load it in the back of the truck, and if this thing is got a big pile of just stuff, and you got to get to the back, you got to step and walk over stuff, and you go on just walk and step on people's shit. Like that's just.
No.
So how many shattered things did you hear under your boot?
Not a lot of stuff outright broke, but a lot of stuff. Like, stuff wasn't just outright breaking, but stuff was absolutely getting manhandled. Like, there's no universe where your stuff is getting handled in some way where you're happy with it. You better just make peace with that, because that is what enables you to get it so quickly in the first place.
All right, so how long did you last at the UPS?
I lasted a few months, and then they had like a new shift supervisor from a different, like the day shift who came in, and he was basically just like, all right, they put me here. I don't know. He's basically he was a hard ass, and they called me to the office and was saying, hey, you got to get your scans up. And I was like, cool. Walked out, and I just never came back. I was like, I ain't got time for this shit. It's not that serious.
Yeah,
I don't care about this enough to be getting micromanaged on my scans when I'm trying to stack y'all stuff correctly. And I'm like, okay, the alternative, I just sling the people's stuff whatever way, which personally I don't care. I'm just trying to make a buck. But also, I don't care enough about all of this as a whole to even be invested in this long term. Like, okay, there's something else I can. But yeah, but you always had like your jug of water because you had to, be hydrated. And then, whatever temperature it was outside, it was in there. So if it's hot and wet and rainy, it is muggy and hot in there. If it's cold, even if it's the winter,
that's okay. It's never hot and muggy in New Orleans. So
never.
You should be.
What really sucked though is Thanksgiving, because that's when all the frozen turkeys come in, and they used to come in these styrofoam coolers that had dry ice in them because you're shipping frozen turkeys. So you're getting just your slide that slides into the stuff you unload into your truck is just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of just like cold styrofoam like coolers, like the size of like, I don't know, like a decent sized box. And naturally over the course of the day, sometimes them joints gonna break or spill or whatever, and then it's dry ice, and it sucked. Was 0 out of, and the thing is, I had a college degree, so I definitely could have gotten promoted really easily and done. And I'm like, I'm not to be in this joint. Y'all got me effed up.
Yo, that Thanksgiving, Savon is just punting that turkey on the dinner table. He's just like, fuck this turkey.
Oh yeah, I was never a big fan of turkey, as y'all have seen me say on the record in the past. But like, man, that did not help. I was like, turkey is not good enough for this many of y'all to be ordering, for me to be having to be putting all this in this truck. Turkey is not that damn good. Right. That being said, I probably broke someone's TV, at least one TV, or allegedly, because it was a big TV and I had to put it in the back, and I had to like full body just because it wasn't gonna get there any other way.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do. All right, let's wrap it up. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. What is your rating of this movie? Let's go 1 to 5 stars. Very traditional movie rating. I'm going 3 stars. Jonathan Majors pretty much gets all of the 3 stars by himself. There was some wackiness there. Paul Rudd is still likable. So 3 stars. I would watch it again, maybe in 2 or 3 years, but I'm not needing to watch it again anytime soon. Brian?
I'm gonna go with 2.998 stars on this one.
Decimals in this.
I don't want to give it like the full 3. The full 3 sounds like it's too much for this movie.
It was still good. It was enjoyable.
It was still enjoyable.
It was not a bad movie.
Yeah. Like I said in our chat, I enjoyed this more than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but it's sort of like in that range of movie. There are a lot of things going on, some things that didn't pay off, as we talked about. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, what a standout. Paul Rudd, who doesn't like Paul Rudd? So it's, it still succeeds at those ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I can't give it the full 3. I don't want to. Can't.
Savon?
I'm going to give the movie a very solid B. I'm going to disregard your entire
star
that's
not
system
1 to 5.
Yeah, I don't agree with the 1 to 5 system. Because I feel like a 3
out
of 5. Yeah, I know. Because I have just fundamental disagreements. I think the 3 out of 5
you can't have fundamental disagreements with the numbers 1 to 5.
No, because the 3 out of 5, because 3 out of 5 really to me feels like 6 out of 10. And on the school grading scale, that's a D. And I feel like that's not how I feel.
I was thinking about that too. No, I kind of agree. Yeah.
I think about things.
10 is like weird.
I think about stuff the way I grade. I think about stuff the way like it's graded in school on like a 10-point grading scale. So if you're giving something like a 60, I'm like, oh, you really didn't like this. So I think a 3 out of 5 is like, ooh, if I got a 3 out of 5 on a quiz,
I don't think anybody else sees it that way.
Well, everyone else is wrong, and I can die on that hill. Point is, the feeling of me if I was putting a stamp on this, like a grade would be a B.
Okay.
A very solid B. Like, there were some things I definitely took points off for, but there was things I definitely gave bonus points for too. Like, they did the things they did poorly, they did poorly. The things they did well, they did really well. If I had to lean more B or B plus or B minus, it's like, actually, no, it's just a hard B. I feel maybe closer to B minus, but like it's a B. It's like an 84.
Are we doing a Jerry Seinfeld movie? I know what's going on.
It's 84.
We just have to say B over and over again.
It's 84.
All right. 84.
It was entertaining. I saw it twice, and like for all its flaws, and even the second time I knew what I didn't like, I saw it on screen. I was like, oh, I don't like this, but also I'm like, oh, I'm entertained. Like,
I like that you say it's a hard B. That's that's definitely better than a hard D.
Yeah, just like a 6 out of 10. I'm like, oh, it's just not favorable. I wouldn't show that to my mama. Like, Mom, I got a 6 out of 10. You got a 3 out of 5?
Yeah, don't show the hard D to your mama.
Stop.
And on that note, let's take us out. Hit us up on socials at confidently_pod on Instagram. We'll be posting in the stories. We'll be posting some reels. Your comments in the post, or you can just DM us. What did you think of this movie? How good was Jonathan Majors? Let us know. Hit us up. See you later. We'll be back with The Last of Us, maybe some Mandalorian next time. Ooh, it's back. Pedro Pascal ×2. It's going to be the Pedro Pascal episode, I think. Next time.
Mando. Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Hasta luego.
Bye. Grogu.